Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Switcher speakers, switcher ilantoka ispeaker sakho, switcher ispeaker sakho, i-on, i-audio yakho i-on. Uyavakala ngokuba uyatype.
Recording in progress.
Good morning, honorable members.
Morning, Chair.
Good
morning, Chair.
Morning, Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning,
You
everyone.
are welcome. Let's see. I see the DG. I don't see the minister. And okay, let's continue. The meeting is open, and like I said, you are welcome. Let's fly to the agenda. The secretary has indicated to me that she's not well, although she will join, and she'll be assisted by Selina. Can we see the agenda? Welcome, DG, and your delegation.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sir, and good morning to the members.
Good morning to you too. There's the agenda, honorable members. Opening and welcome. Apologies. Consideration and adoption of the agenda. Opening remarks. Briefing by PPRA. Briefing by department. Consideration and adoption of minutes. Let's get into item 2. Apologies. Are there apologies? Selina?
Good morning, Chair, and good morning, members and colleagues. We only have one apology, Chair, from DM. She is in Oldson, attending the meeting with the community at Oldson. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other apology?
Good morning, Chair and members.
Hi, Zolega.
I
Good
send the
morning.
apology for Minister to Koliswa. Minister is currently in cabinet committee meeting.
Okay. Okay. I take those are the only 2 apologies, Minister and Deputy Minister. I take the apologies are accepted. Are they accepted, members?
Very much so, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next item is consideration and adoption of the agenda. Can I get a mover for the adoption of the agenda?
I move to adopt the agenda, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Frenchman. Can I get a second?
I'm seconding, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Makagula. Seconded. Is there an alternative view? No alternative view. Honorable Kamede, you are welcome. We're on item 4. Honorable members, it has been a long day yesterday, and it is going to be a long day today as we consider, as the Assembly considers the PPRs. So we're not going to waste time to allow members those who are not yet in Parliament, to make their way to Parliament. So I'm going to request that we be focused, we be businesslike, so that if possible, by 12:30, we are done, to allow members to proceed to Parliament. Honorable members, last week, Thursday and Friday, we had meetings in Tshwane, and Iguruleni, which I regard as very fruitful. On Thursday, we met with the petitioners, and on Friday, we got feedback from both Gauteng and Northwest. The Northwest feedback was really encouraging, and we still expect Gauteng to report to us through the DDG Dumalisile by Friday, as we agreed. Our meeting with MECs and HODs and the National Human Settlement Department, led by the Deputy Minister. That meeting was also very much fruitful, eye-opening, and I think it assisted members to understand the operations of human settlement in various provinces. The discussions thereof will also assist us when we decide on oversight, and we'll still be able to take those discussions further when we visit specific provinces, so that we make sure that whatever we do, it's in line with our mandate. That meeting emphasized the fact that we still need to prioritize meeting accredited municipalities, or should I say, yes, accredited municipalities or metros. Maybe we should meet with metros, the executive mayors, and the MMCs for human settlement, because the meeting with MECs highlighted the fact that metros are also playing a major role. But again, with regard to spending, metros, some of the metros are found wanting with regard to spending the allocated money. And I want to thank you, honorable members, your energy, your commitment to make sure that we serve the people of South Africa, the people who voted us to Parliament. Let's continue engaging one another formally and informally, so that we assist one another to better our operations and to make sure that we improve on how we service our people. Having said that, I'm going to item 5, and I will invite, because the minister and the deputy minister are not in, as per the apologies accepted already, I'm going to request the DG to lead us, and after the DG will direct us in terms of item 5 and item 6. DG?
Honorable Chairperson, thank you very much. And thanks to the members. And we too are greatly appreciative of the visit of the committee and the engagements we have had with the sector, with provinces specifically. And we too, from that, Chair, grateful that there has been quite fruitful engagements, and that the committee has also got provinces that we normally relate on behalf of provinces to the committee. And we are appreciative of the efforts of the committee to embed itself and to entrench itself in the understanding of the inner workings of the portfolio. Chair, without much ado, we today, together with one of our entities, the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority, PPRA, we are presenting on the progress we have made in terms of our transformation agenda and also our efforts towards the Transformation Fund. One is to hasten to indicate that transformation is an imperative of the democratic government. Ever since 1994, there has been an effort at transforming the South African society, that all facets of society are indicative of the demographic nature of the South African society. But even more importantly, constitutional imperatives and principles that seeks to redress and advance those that were previously marginalized, and the imbalances of the past be addressed. It remains at the cornerstone of many of the policies that are in the employ of government. Some of them laws that the legislature in parliament has passed on, and which we, the executive, are seeking to implement. Saying that one of the most important laws in this space that we seem and we deem it quite progressive above all else is the Property Practitioners Regulatory Act, and which act encompasses a dedicated chapter on transformation. This you typically do not see in many of the laws that we have. There are quite few that are reflective of this utmost commitment. One of them would be the BBBEE Act, and you will see its dedicated focus on changing the levers of ownership of companies and all of that. But in this case, having noted the nature of the property sector in South Africa and knowing its historical evolution, we have come to accept that we need to shake that landscape, and we need to make sure that it is truly representative of all of the people of South Africa, and that even the historically marginalized are afforded a place under the sun to participate in the economic activity, as well as the value chain and in the entire ecosystem of being a property practitioner. You would also recall, Chair, that we had since the transformation and metamorphosis of the Estate Affairs Management Board and its change towards the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority began in earnest, first in the accreditation principles around who can become and who qualifies to be a property practitioner, but even beyond that, to also further put in place enabling mechanisms to allow and promote the emergence of a Black property practitioner. And Black in this case, as per definition, previously the marginalized, the Africans, the Indians, the Coloureds, and also some limited sections of the Chinese, as per definition, are allowed to be considered Black and to be advanced through some of our imperative programs that we have employed and put in place. Today, the PPRA is led by its CEO, Ms. Tato Ramaidi, and Tato would take the committee through, with your indulgence, Chair, on the contents of the presentation, and specifically report on some of the key milestones we have registered in this area of work. Some of them, Chairperson, quite very successful, and we are very excited about some of the initiatives and what they have yielded to date. Without one beating his own drums and one beating his own breast, I think it's best that I allow for the committee to hear from the horse's mouth and to hear what we have been able to do up until now and what progress we have registered to date. One must also indicate, Chair, just before Tato comes in, that we have seen also the resurgence and re-emergence of resistance to our transformation goals and products. For instance, the law requires of property practitioner companies operating in the space to be majority Black owned. And this proposition, when we wish to now take forward and we wish to implement the tenets of the law, there are those that are inherently opposed to the law of the Republic being implemented. And I think here the difference is that we are not putting forward a policy position or a policy proposal. We are talking about a law that exists, that has already been passed by Parliament. There seems to be resistance to its implementation, and I think Tato can give further details about that. But our resolve and determination at doing the right thing and at doing what is necessary and at implementing what the law requires of us to do so is that I think we can rather debate the tactics of implementation and the modalities and approaches to implementation and also the timelines around full implementation. But we do not have a choice legally to choose not to implement the law. And I think that that should be put up front, that it's well understood where we are driving the program and the process towards, and why we support our entity in its endeavors and in its programs and directives it's issuing to the sector to comply with. With your indulgence, Honorable Chair and members, allow me to invite the CEO of the PPRA to present, Chairperson. Thank you.
Thank you, DG. CEO.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Siabi, and good morning to the members of the Portfolio Committee. Good morning, DG, and everyone on the call this morning. Chairperson, I'm not sure whether the Secretariat is going to flight my presentation or if I should do it from my end. Okay, it looks like it's moving. Chair, thank you so much for the opportunity to come and present to the Portfolio Committee.
Sorry to interrupt the CEO. We want to see her face, even if briefly so.
Am I?
Let's see your face, CEO.
Yes, I've put on my video. Members. Am I visible?
Yes.
Yes.
See, no, it's the CEO we know. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. I don't see the presentation up.
Yeah, you are a co-host. You are a co-host. You can do it from your side.
Okay. That's the slide. Okay. Thank you, Chair. Once again, I wanted Chairperson and members to just, well, DG has introduced the transformation. What is it that we're doing? But before I get into the presentation, which I will take as read and the report that was disseminated, I just wanted to just let the members know of the current state of affairs as far as the property sector is concerned in the country. So in 2023, the year that just passed, both the Lightstone Property Index and the Property Sector Transformation Council reported inventory values of residential properties to surpass 7 trillion. So this is over 1 trillion as reported in about 2018-2019 financial years. And then the commercial property market, which is traditionally more volatile than its obviously the residential counterpart, has also continued to show encouraging signs of recovery. And following the impact of the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic, and the commercial property market was valued at about 1.5 trillion in 2023 alone. So meaning the commercial sector and the residential property sector has a combined total of about 8.5 trillion. So that is the money that is currently flowing in our country. And what I've since done, and it's just unfortunate it was not ripe for this committee yet. I had asked the Lifestone Property Index. This is now a body that registers all the properties at the deeds office. And they reported in the 2024, now I'm moving to this current year, in the Western Cape alone, there has been sales transaction by our property practitioners in the Western Cape of 119 billion, in Gauteng of 107 billion. So my ask to them, and they promise they will send me this report in a week because they have to do it manually. I wanted to know, in the Gauteng, of the 107 billion sales value, how many of those transactions were facilitated by PDIs? In the Western Cape, of the 119 billion sales transaction that registered at the deeds office, how many of those were concluded by PDIs? They said the report will take 5 or 7 days, and I promise to share it with this committee, just so that you know, when we are pressing and we are intentional about transformation, it's because of the numbers. It's because we know that the sector is lucrative. And I believe that we need to play a part and really get a piece of the pie. But without further ado, Chairperson, I will take the members through the executive summary, some of our transformation programs as stipulated in our APP, and our Rawson Transformation 10X franchise initiative, and also the Transformation Fund. So that is the purpose of this presentation. And in the executive summary, I was just reminding the members of what our mandate is, who it is that we are regulating. So this is just a refresher slide, Chairperson, where just to remind the members that we are regulating auctioneers, estate agents as we traditionally know them, bond and bridging finance originators, just amongst others. And the DG did, bring us to speed as to why it is that we need to transform, why the PPA came into promulgation in 2019, or it came into being on the 1st of February 2022, and it was to redress, or it is to redress the imbalances of the past. So I will take the members swiftly through some of the programs that we have. And once again, these are the programs that are prescribed in the legislation, and they are also included as our APP. So we are measured on these programs to see how far we're moving. The first program is the One Property Practitioner Youth Program. This program is not new to the PPA or PPRA. It was first introduced in 2015. And in 2015, it was called the One Learner, One Estate Agent program under the Estate Agency Affairs Board. And this program, it is in partnership with Services CETA. They have been our strategic partner as far as finances are concerned. Now, members, the program, I'm often asked, how many youth have you brought into your regulatory fold? How many have stayed in the sector? What is the retention rate? And this is one question that I hadn't been able to answer since I came on. And the simple reason is that of the, can I call it in quotation marks, 1,000 practitioners that were brought into the real estate sector, there was no monitoring. These learners were not issued with Fidelity Fund certificates. So we were not able to track how many of them we've been able to retain, how many of them have now gone to higher designations, how many of them today are business owners. So last year I said we must change the manner in which we've been conducting this program. And I went to Services CETA and I said, firstly, I've asked for an increase in the stipend. For years, the stipend to these learners was around 2,000, but now Services CETA, effective this current year, 2024, they've increased the stipend to 3,000 per learner. And I've also asked that all the learners that we bring onto this program, we must interview them. So my staff, we personally interview them to understand why they want to enter the sector. because in that way, we are able to make sure that they are the suitable candidates or people that we want to include in our sector so that they're able to grow and not just come for the stipend. So that was important. So in this current year, we have been able to onboard, the 2023-2024, 530 learners who have begun their journey and with the assistance of Services CETA. And on the 1st of November, we were able to conduct the very first graduation for this program, where we're able to follow the journey with these learners, and they looked absolutely beautiful in their gowns, and they graduated, and some of them are actually sitting for the February exam, the PDE, the professional designation exam. So I gave these learners, my commitment that in the next 2 years, all of them will be MPREs, which is the Master Practitioner in Real Estate, which is the highest designation as far as the real estate sector is concerned. This way, they're able to, negotiate more commission. They're able to negotiate mandates. So I'm really looking forward to joining with these learners. And then one of our strategic partnerships, again in the year that was, is our partnership with the KwaZulu-Natal Department of Economic Development, Tourism and Environmental Affairs. They approached us late last year to say, we want to do something for our province. We want to empower the youth, persons with disabilities in our province. What is it that the PPRA can do? We've got funding. We will also approach Services CETA, but we don't have the numbers. So this, we concluded an MOU with EDTA last year. It's a MOU between themselves, the PPRA and Services CETA, and they have committed to fund 2,500 candidates just in KZN to ensure that they curb unemployment in KZN. What I'm particularly excited about is that now they've chosen that this youth will, choose real estate as a career of choice. And what we've helped them with is recruitment of these learners. So we embarked on this journey in November last year. We went to KZN. I was one of the people who went to interview thousands and thousands of youth in the KZN province. And of those 2,500, it's a 3-year program, we were able to recruit 750 that we have now registered. These candidates now have FFCs, and I'm talking about the 750 because it's the first cohort that launched on the 1st of October this year. They were given tools of trade, which are laptops and also FFCs, and there is a training service provider making sure that they are given the necessary skills to be successful in the sector. So I'm, again, excited about this program, but I don't want it to see it only ending in KZN. I want to make sure that it is spread in all the 9 provinces. And the first province that have given us a nod is Northwest. We are just trying to find which department will assist us with funding, because it is a huge project. I believe KZN and Services CETA have funded 61 million into this project alone for the next 3 years. And I will go knocking on all provinces to make sure that we mimic this program, but not only mimic it, will make sure that we monitor it and that it is a success and it bears fruit. The second program, chairperson and members on our APP as well as our transformation program, is the principalization program. Now, this program is aimed to assisting, again, it's geared towards PDIs, and this one is particularly targeted at women. So the youth program, we are targeting youth, we are targeting persons with disabilities. And the principalization program is we are targeting women. And once again, Services CETA has only given us funding just for the one property practitioner youth program. But I went back to them and say, we can't just, empower youth, and once they've gone through the 12-month rigorous training, we lose them. So we need to ensure that they follow the entire value chain of the property sector. So they have given us funding as a cohort for this year of 75 women candidates, and this program is at 60,000 rand per woman for again a 12-month program. So this program, once again, we've launched it this year, and I will be able to give the numbers at the end of the financial year, as we are targeting to recruit about 1,100 women in the sector. The next program, I'm sure you've heard me speak of it, Chairperson and members, is the SMME Incubation Program. Now, we've taken the learners through the One Learner, One Practitioner program. We've taken them through the Principalization program, where they've written their designation exams. Now they are fully fledged property practitioners. They are MPREs. What now? Because now they are competing with the property giants. We said, we as the PPRA, we will take 25 SMMEs and put them through our incubation and capacity building program. This is a program where we assist them with financial and non-financial support. And in the 2023-2024, we were able to incubate 17 SMMEs. And now for the year that is ending in March 31st, we will have recruited 25. We've closed that process on last week Friday. So my team are going through all the applications that we have received to ensure that we will choose 25 SMMEs who we are taking through this program. And the PPRA is giving funding, or a grant rather, of 250,000 to all these SMMEs. And I have to highlight that this money is not deposited into their bank accounts, because we still have to account to AGSA at the end of the financial year. But what they do is they give us their business proposals, they give us their wish lists of where we can assist them in their businesses to help them scale and grow. And I have to say, the 17 that we've had, it is our cohort, and we had teething problems, but we have. I'd like to believe that we have perfected it, and the next cohort that we are taking now, the 25, it will be a seamless process. So that's our SMME incubation program. That is, helping the ones who are already in the sector, and we want to ensure that they remain, and not only that, but they are capacitated and they are skilled. So what I've done in this slide is just give a roadmap of what it is to become a property practitioner, and matching all the programs that I've highlighted from candidate all the way to SMME. So I will not delve in that slide any longer. And what is our objective at the end of the day? So we want to firstly expose students and learners to the property industry. We want them to make real estate a career of choice. And one other thing that we've started doing in the PPRA is we are also now going to high schools to make sure that these students already in high school, they want to go into the property sector, and is not a by the way career. It's something that, just like being a doctor, an attorney, a lawyer, they do the same for the property sector. And also, I've highlighted that for SMMEs, we want to financially assist them and also upscale their businesses. And that's just some of the objectives that I've highlighted, Chairperson and members. And also, what is also important is we don't want to just bring everyone into the sector. We have to ensure that there is a social impact of all the programs, and I believe that all our programs really do have a social impact in the society. It's also, an intervention into the labor market to also curb unemployment of people in our country, but especially the youth and the young people in our communities. So that is our social impact on the programs that we currently have. And then we also say that, we also want to ensure that these businesses grow, they thrive, and it's just not a numbers game or a box ticking exercise where I need to make sure that I comply with the APP, but we really do create sustainable businesses in this lucrative sector. And really that is our objective, and what is it that we are hoping to achieve. And like I've said, some of these programs have already started to bear fruit, and you'll see later in the program where I've highlighted some of the recent success stories of some of our programs. The next program, Chairperson, I think I've also I've spoken about it quite a lot, and only because it was one of those programs when we launched it in March this year. There were people who were resisting it, saying that I'm talking about transformation, or the PPRA is talking about transformation. But here we are again, growing already the giants that are big, but really, without really knowing the facts and behind this partnership. So Rawson is one of the 10 biggest franchises in our country, but 60% of franchisees of Rawson are PDIs. And that's something that a lot of people in South Africa don't know. So they are, passionate about transformation, and so are we. So I thought this would be a beautiful marriage. And with the Rawson franchise, we are looking to award 100 franchises in the next 5 years. Currently, we've got on our books 8 franchisees with 7 franchises, and we're looking to onboard about and to hand over 15 additional franchises with this 10X project. And I will take through the members in the next couple of slides of what this program has been able to do with the our cohort, first cohort with this beautiful initiative. Like I've mentioned, we launched it in March of this year, and we are looking to have 10, 15 franchisees before the end of the quarter. In this cohort, those are our franchisees, and you'll see that we've got in KZN, we've got in Gauteng, in Johannesburg, Centurion areas, as well as Greenstone and Pretoria East. And in the next slide, I will highlight what this program has been able to do since inception. What Rawson has done, they have made sure that these franchises go through a business leadership program that has been funded by the REBOSA, which is the Real Estate Business Owners of South Africa. But as the PPRA, we have also planted a seed with all these franchisees, because we want to ensure that their businesses are a success. So we have also funded them and assisted them towards their office spaces, leasing spaces, as well as some of their training to ensure that they are well equipped now, not as learners, but as business owners. Because I do believe that when we are talking transformation, the ultimate goal is to grow businesses, because with sustainable businesses, they are able to employ more youth, more people into the sector. So that is all the office premises that these franchises have been able to secure just in the last 6 or 7 months. And what is important to highlight is that just in the 7 months, these principal practitioners have been able to employ 45 staff under their offices, with the largest office being the one in Leondale by Ms. Tobile Masanabo, which is very exciting. And then the next slide has to do with listings, chairperson and members, because again, in this sector, it's a numbers game. And I always say that you are as good as your stock. So if you say you are a real estate practitioner, you are a principal, but you don't have listings, you are really not, you're not a business person. So what Rosen has committed to do in this program is to ensure that these practitioners are given stock. They're given stock by banks. They are given leads by the brand themselves. They are given referrals because we want to ensure that they are successful. And in this particular sector, the real estate sector, if you are not moving sales, you are really not selling. So I wanted to make sure. So the numbers that you see and the revenue that you'll see is the revenue that has been highlighted or reported by the Lightstone. So in the Gauteng area, that 107 billion sales revenue that moved in this current year, these franchises were the role players in those stats. And again, the leads that I just highlighted now, they've given 328 leads. And their current listings, I do check up on this program. I do go online to make sure that indeed they are listing. So they're just not, brushing me away. And I speak to all these franchises. I visited their offices. The one that I still am yet to go to is the one in KZN. But to ensure that we're not talking hypothetical numbers. I'm reporting things that I've seen. I'm reporting numbers that I have validated myself, and also validated from the horse's mouth. So those are the leads that are coming from, Standard Bank, valuations that they've done. Also the bank sole mandate. So we do have an agreement with BASA, which is the Banking Association of South Africa. So all the banks, their listings, their disposals, they give this cohort a priority. And that's why it's important that, this program is a success, as well as all our other programs, and because of the support that we're getting from the banks. The business management support slide, chairperson and members, I did speak to him, but this is basically the support that is given to the franchises. So now they are grooming them to be successful business owners. So it's not only about financial support, but it's about admin support. It's about business development. So it takes really a lot of emphasis to ensure that we are grooming entrepreneurs and not just practitioners. And this slide, this is a success story that I was talking about. So Zianda has been a master practitioner in real estate for about 14 years. And she's, worked on her own. She was a one-man show. And when she came to the interviews for this project in March this year, she didn't have an office. She was operating from her house, and it was herself. And then she had a candidate property practitioner who's actually one of the people that graduated from our One Learner, One Practitioner program. And in March, Zianda had 2 sale listings and 1 rental listing. And this is what she had been able to secure in the 12 months. But what this program, with the branding, with the financial support and non-financial support, she's been able to really create magic, in her business. And just in the month of October 2024 alone, she's been able single-handedly conclude 9 sales amounting to 8 million in sales value. And then since the inception of the program, she's been able to conclude 20 sales. So from April 2024 up until October, she's been able to close 20 sales. So that is to just illustrate that, when the public sector collaborates with the private sector, magic really does happen. And she's a testament of that. And I'm hoping to come back here and give other success stories of both our SMME incubation recipients, as well as some of the franchisees who will be recipients of the Rosen brand. So Zianda currently operates in the Centurion office in Gauteng. And now, chairperson and members, just to come to the Transformation Fund. So when the Act came into promulgation in 2022, 2 years ago, on the 1st of February, there was no transformation fund established. So some of the programs that we had done with Services SETA over the years, they would pay those funds into the PPRA's account. But in August 2022, there was a property transformation fund established, and there was a seed funding of 7.5 from the PPRA to fund this fidelity fund. And then the slide that I captured here is the programs that I've spoke of earlier in my presentation, and the quantum that has been able to go into these funding. But the numbers are huge. When I spoke about the KZN project, you heard 61 million for 3 years. And I truly believe those are the numbers that we are to look at if we're really going to really even, create a dent in the sector as far as transformation is concerned. But we had to start somewhere. These are the numbers that we've been able to do through our various partnerships. Just the Rawson one, I didn't stipulate here because obviously the funding doesn't come to us. It goes directly to the franchisees. But that project alone has cost about 8 million for the 7 franchisees, and we're looking obviously to grow it, over the years. But we are not stopping here. We are talking to other partners. The one commitment that we've received thus far for this year, for the next year, is through ABSA. ABSA wants to fund our graduation programs because we did invite them to our graduation for the One Learner, One Practitioner, and they said they want to be part of that story. So we will continue to knock, and not only knock, but also get an individual who is focused on their transformation business unit alone. They will be the person who will go and get funding on our behalf. But for this current financial year, we really didn't fold our arms. We had made sure that we facilitate and to implement and enforce our mandate, and as well as our APP to ensure that all our programs are funded, not only funded, but they are a success, which we've been able to do, chairperson and members. So that is my presentation. I know it was long-winded, but I had to make sure that I let you in on all the details so you know what is it that we are doing currently and the plans that we have, chairperson and members. But that is my presentation, and I don't know if the DG, you want to please close on my behalf. But I would like the portfolio committee to note the progress that we've made as the PPRA as far as the transformation initiatives and the transformation fund is concerned. Thank you, Chair and members.
Thank you very much, CEO. DG.
Chairperson, thank you very much. To indicate that we do not envisage that Rawson is the last of the companies we intend to have a program of this nature with. There are many other bigger players in the sector, and our mandate to the PPRA is to reach out to those big ones as well. Pam Goldings, SIF, and all of these big brands in the sector to also have similar programs that will advance the cause of the transformation in the sector. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, DG. Thank you once more, CEO. Honorable members, there is a presentation from PPRA briefing the committee on their transformation agenda. Let's engage with it. Oh, Makazi, I was not aware that you are in. You are welcome. Honorable Damini, I only see your hand. Please continue.
No, thank you, Chair. I apologize for entering the meeting late. The presentation is duly noted. However, I would like to know, in terms of your targets and the people that you are targeting, the demographics that you are targeting, how do you communicate these targets? What are the initiatives? So how do they get a hold of the information that you want to embark on these initiatives? And then just out of curiosity, do you have any rights to the TV shows that speak of listing of Johannesburg and listing Cape Town on, is it BBC or whatever the channel is? And do you regulate the pricing and the participation thereof? Do you have any form of relations to that? And if so, what is it? And if not, does it form part of your programming or not? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Honorable Makagula.
Thank you, Chairperson, and welcome the presentation from the CEO. Ama abbreviations, amanye ayangishaya. Like the TNX, I don't understand shooting. But I would like to say and congratulate the PPRA's graduations, those who have graduated, and also thanking the CEO and the team also in terms of empowering our PDIs, and also most of them who are women. The empowerment in terms of starting from afresh to be business people, the support you have given, and also with your partners, I think it's welcomed, and we thank you that I think this industry will now be recognized that they've been here for so long, but without any empowerment. Chairperson, I think, I would also
Your network is not good, Honorable Makagula.
You have clarity on of participants. You mentioned. I'm sorry. Okay. Am I okay now? Am I?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
It's better. Okay. All right. Yeah. Maybe in terms of your numbers, I think you have said in case out of 2,500, 700 participants from KZN, but you did not mention other provinces as to how many, unless I've skipped that slide, but maybe if we can also analyze on that. I think, Chairperson, I'll also, because I've seen that also Gurulend is who's Tabile or Tobile. Yeah, it's near my place. I'll also go and pay a visit. I think where we can and meet those what do you call them, practitioners? Yeah, in person. I think they chat just to encourage them, and I thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope they got your questions, because your network was not that reliable. Honorable Khakilwe.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, members and officials from the department as well as from the entity. Chair, let me also welcome the presentation and appreciate the work done by PRA. I only have one question with regard to the involvement of other provinces. Through you, Chair, I just want to ask the CEO, are they marketing the program to all the provinces? Because you have indicated that at least Northwest for once has indicated the interest. But are there any awareness program so that all the provinces can participate? That is my question, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Gamed.
Thank you very much, Chair. Am I audible, Chair? Chair, can you hear me?
Yes, you are. Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. No, I think the seed that the CEO was talking about planting the seed. For me, I think it's yielding good result. One must mention that. And I thanks because Honorable Makakula has already mentioned the women part, which one appreciates a lot, and also the youth part. That 2,500 for me says a lot in the 3-year program. One must also mention that when it comes to the social impact of this program, the one learner property practitioner youth program demonstrates a significant potential as a social impact initiative aimed at addressing youth unemployment, promoting transformation, and also fostering inclusivity in the property sector. By equipping young people, we all understand that particularly those from the disadvantaged background with relevant skills, work experience, and opportunities for career growth. For me, the program contributes to bridging the systemic inequality and diversifying the industry. It's also the alignment with broader socio-economic goals, such as youth empowerment and economic inclusion, further solidifies its role as a meaningful tool for transformation. Quite prominently, the program's efforts to include underrepresented groups such as women, rural youth, and individuals from marginalized communities enhance the impact on social equity. In conclusion, Chair, because today there was a question that was asked by my fellow colleague, Honorable Dlamini, which I'm not going to repeat it, but I think for me, this one learner property practitioner youth program makes a significant contribution to social transformation and economic empowerment. With sustained effort, increased scalability, and also a commitment to inclusivity, the program has the potential to not only reshape the property sector, but also serve as a model for similar youth development initiative across the industry. One has also noted that I think there are about there are a number of women in that program that she has mentioned. I think one appreciates that there is a budget of about 60,000 per women in that program. For me, Chair, in closing, I think one appreciates a lot and also acknowledge that this is not just to you, CEO. For me, this is not just a tick box exercise. We welcome the report. I mean the presentation. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Dithebe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to you, to honorable members, the DG, the CEO, and everyone on the platform this morning. Let me join everyone and welcome the presentation first by the DG and of course the CEO. And I think I will be speaking on perhaps most, if not all of the members, having already heard what they have had to say that we are in full support of the work of the regulatory authority and anything and everything that it seeks to achieve in line with the letter and spirit of our Constitution, ensuring equality, especially substantive equality, but most importantly, social justice. I say this, Chairperson, because we come from a very difficult past. And I often refer to the preamble of our Constitution, and I think that preamble of our Constitution is a mirror reflection of the preamble of the Freedom Charter. And I think in particular here, we should remain constantly all the time with the transformation agenda, because that which the Constitution seeks to achieve is a very mammoth and lofty task, because we are talking here of the havoc and the destruction that was wrought by Jan van Riebeck on his arrival on the 6th of April. And just 5 years later, 12 free beggars were given farms right in this province. And of course, the rest is history, leading us right up to 1795 with the colonization of this very province in which we are. And of course, the reinforcement of those that came with that colonialist expansion in 1820 and right up to the Draft South Africa Act, which established the Union of South Africa. And all the time, in all of these instances, Africans, Black people in general, were on the receiving end of that institutionalized racism. I don't want to talk of many other instances of land dispossession. So I am prefacing my questions, Comrade Chairperson of our committee. Of course, you remain our comrade in this revolutionary struggle for transformation. I'm prefacing my remarks, the questions that I am going to pose with those remarks, basically to say, we welcome this, but this is only the tip of the iceberg, because this particular sector itself has evolved within the belly of the capitalist system. And whether we like it or not, from the point of race, class, and gender, there are certain glass ceilings, and we should not expect the regulatory authority, the PPRA, to wave a magical wand. It is a struggle that we need to continue waging. Because you will remember, Chair, just on the remarks, the 1899 war, which lasted up to 31st of May, 1902, was basically between two white races over the diamonds in Kimberley and the gold in the Witwatersrand. And underlying all of that was that Black people must have no say. Hence, the large tracts of land in the form of farms and other commercial property that white people historically own, which speaks to what I have said earlier, ensuring that is in the constitution of our country that there is social justice, and we must remain seized with that. So let me come to the issues that the regulatory authority through the CEO has presented. Now, I'd like to know, there is, the DG will remind us that there is a Disclosures Act in terms of home loans, etc., which requires that those that are dealing in that sector should regularly report so that we know how many such units have been sold, and which particular demographic groups were involved and so forth. So I'd like to know the relationship with that particular office, the working relationship, if any, between that particular office and the regulatory authority, because the transformation agenda is what we are here about today. and to also know whether beyond just being franchisees, is there any other stake in terms of the relationship that the PPRA has carved? And we are very thankful that we have got these learners, etc., some of whom are obviously moving up. Any relationship beyond being just franchisees. And for purposes of marketing, because the CEO was quite correct, you know, you cannot just be trained and then you are listed as a real estate agent, etc., without any sales. If you look at, for example, Property 24 and so forth, do they advertise there, if they do at all, under the brand Rossen Properties, or do they assume their own names, that is of their own businesses, and maybe add trading as Rossen Properties or something, or vice versa? So that's the first thing, just for purposes of the reach. And at an international level, Rossen Properties, do they have any footprint, and are there any intentions to then graduate some of these historically disadvantaged individuals into the international real estate market, so that they maximize on their experience and certainly their take? I mean, their revenue in that particular sector. So what criteria are you using to say these, you know, nascent practitioners in the sector, HDIs that is, what criteria do you use to say, if you have reached so many listings for rent and so many listings for sale, you have achieved the desired results as per our transformation agenda in their capacity, that is, as franchisees? The other issue, Chair, is you've got companies like TAF 21, TUHF 21. What relationship, if any, do you have with them, so that, for example, you go on to arrest inner city decay, and in townships, for example, as well? What is it that you are doing? When I looked at your breakdown of the areas where these franchisees operate, and for obvious reasons, there's always a bias towards metropolitan areas, because of course we know that at any given time, metropolitan areas account for about 60% of economic activity in the country. So just in line with that, Chairperson, if a particular real estate company, for example, is under financial distress, do you get to approach bodies like the Industrial Development Corporation, the Public Investment Corporation, to then take it over with a view to then involving these franchisees, I mean, these HDIs, without having to rely on just one particular vehicle, be it Rossen Properties, etc.? Now, the last one, Chairperson, what is the latest with regards to the legal challenge by some practitioners in the sector against Section 63 of the PPA 22 of 2019? So I think, Chairperson, we must, of course, welcome the numbers that have been mentioned there. I see the Western Cape is leading Gauteng, but again, in line with my foregoing remarks, we must always remember that it is not done until there is social justice attained, fundamental human rights and equality for our people, because after all, we are about the people. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Abada. Zelna? Honorable Abada? She's gone. Possibly she has a problem with the network. I'll still give her an opportunity when she comes back. DG CEO, let's respond to the inputs.
DG, through you, Chair, can I go? Okay.
Yeah, yes, please go. See you.
Okay, thank you. And thank you, members, for your questions and your comments. They are well received. I think let me start with Honorable Ditebe, since he was the last one, and then I'll work my way up. Regarding the legal challenge, and Chairperson, you will recall when we were together physically here in Cape Town, I had said that we have just received summons, and the minister, also Honorable Minister, was cited in the summons. So what we have since done, both the Department of Human Settlements and the PPRA, we have appointed attorneys and filed a notice of intention to oppose the matter relating to Section 63. We have, I don't want to talk on behalf of the department, but the next step was for us to file an answering affidavit. And I'd like to believe it was done, but I don't want to, but DG can keep me honest. So the process is unfolding, and obviously we will then await I don't know what's the next step, a court date, so where all our legal teams can go and then state our stance, and then hopefully it will be a matter that's resolved sooner rather than later. But as far as the PPRA is concerned, we are still enforcing the legislation. We are still enforcing compliance notices for those who are contravening up until such a time that the court has proclaimed on the matter at hand. But I do still have hope and believe that we will come out victorious, because I don't see what judge will say, let untransformed sector prevail. But I will come back to this forum again and continue to give feedback regarding the matter. The question around TAF. So TAF has a subsidiary called Mastandi, and for members who may not know, so they give funding to particularly developers who develop social housing or any projects that are in, to basically uplift the township economy. So member Ditebe, I actually just only established a relationship with them, and this is geared towards upcoming developers. Also in partnership with SIBIP. SIBIP is the South African Institution of Black Property Practitioners. It's a voluntary body to see how can we, the same way we are doing with real estate practitioners, developers also fall under a regulatory fold. So we need to ensure that they are also empowered. They are also given information on how to access this funding, because funding is there, and the how. So this is one of just our initial initiatives, but I will continue to give just a progress report on where we are, how many people we've brought onto this program. And again, just talking about the township economy, because I know Soweto was a booming market, but we've gone there as a PPRA earlier this year. I believe it was between July and August, because as much as the Soweto market is thriving, we've got a lot of undocumented property practitioners. So we went into that community to say, we want you to be compliant. This is how you become compliant. And obviously legislation does give us the grounds or the liberty to waive whatever penalties, historical penalties, so that they can then come into the sector on a clean slate, but be compliant, because that's important. So that is it was our first stakeholder initiative in person in Soweto, and practitioners came in numbers. So they now know the PPRA exists. The PPRA wants to support them in their businesses, but most importantly, they need to comply, and it was well received. So, and one of the one of the recipients of Rossen, yes, it's a Centurion office, but obviously they're able to play in the Tembisa area, Oliven areas, and honorable members, that's where the money is, because there you've got properties between 600, just under and between 600 and a million. They literally sell in a day. Within 24 hours, that property is sold, and so there's a lot of it may be smaller in value, but the numbers are high. So yes, these the offices that we currently have are in the suburban areas, and I deliberately challenged Rossen to do that. There was a lady who was given the Houghton office, the Sandton office, but then she since dropped out because she wanted something in her name, which I'll talk to earlier on to address one of your questions. But we are not neglecting the township economy. We're not neglecting or leaving our people behind. But I also deemed it necessary that we go and target where the bigger prices, because we've always been playing in the smaller areas, smaller price tags. But I just believe that at this stage, we too are worthy of 20 million rand, 30 million rand listings in the Mooikloof areas and the likes. So the other question was around, at what point do we say this principle has arrived? And member Dithebe, and that's why it was so important that we get the stats from the deeds office, because at the deeds office, they are able to tell us what is the movement of sales at any given point in our country, and we need to be able to tie it to that number. So for me, my criteria, and I welcome whatever other suggestions. But if we're saying that this is a 7 trillion industry, and we've got 10,000 Black property practitioners, they need to share that pie of the 7 trillion, not 1 million, not 1 billion, part of the 7 trillion. So up until such a time that we can say, and that's why I had to extrapolate it and take out it by province, because I know the numbers of how many PDIs are role players in the sector in Gauteng. So those numbers will be able to say, to tell me, if we are selling 1.9 billion in any given year in Gauteng, and we've got 2,000 PDIs, what is their percentage? So I think at this point, with the Rossen one, if all their offices, if they're able to pay their office spaces for the year, they're able to pay all their overheads and their staff, and they can make bankable money, that for me would be the measurement of success, not that they've opened an office. So obviously this is the first cohort. In 12 months, they will have to file their audit reports with the PPRA, and I want a bottom line that is fat, that is healthy, and so that they're able to grow their businesses and choose whether to buy another franchise or go off on their own. And that will lead me to the next question, Honorable Dithebe, around, can they operate in their business? So if you go to Property 24, you will say Zianda in her last name as a Rossen, right? On listings. However, with CIPC, they are registered as Zianda Properties, or whatever her PTY, the company that she registered with. So the brand is just to, give her visibility, give her favor, give her clients. But when she's filing with SARS, we are building her business. So at any given time, when she wants to exit this brand, which is Rossen, she will be able to do so. That's one of our clauses in the contracts with these PDIs, that they cannot be tied to a 20-year franchise agreement. When they walk with their clientele, and they can literally overnight change that brand into whatever names they want. But I just thought this would be a first, like a good starting base, especially for young entrepreneurs. So they are still able to grow their businesses, because at the end of the day, when you want to go get funding with banks or whatever financial institution, your name is the one that's going to count, your business name. So I wanted to ensure that they keep that. And as far as international level, currently, Rawson is probably one of the only franchises that only operate in South Africa, but they've got the largest footprint market, market space, if I can call it that. They're not an international level. However, we are working, and this will come to the DG's office, working on an MOU with IREM. IREM is International Real Estate Management. It's a US-based company, but they do have a satellite office in South Africa. And this is mostly for real estate management space. And they want to take our PDIs international. So we are working on this program, but it will start at a candidacy program first, before they are able to play in get international exposure. But that will not be part of the Rawson project. It will be through the IREM project. And as you asked, whether, honorable member, besides franchises, what else are we doing? So there are people, Tato's properties, who want to own their own brand and make it an international brand. So this on its own is we've done the calculations again with the assistance of those who have done it before us, which are the giants, and they said for us to be able to amplify one franchise, a PDI, and make it into an international or a national brand, at least we'll need 10 million minimum. And that's the next project that we're looking to embark upon, because we understand there are people who want their legacy. They don't want a Pam Golding, they don't want a Remix, they want their name. But we also need to be cognizant of the fact that if you look at Pam Golding, it's not Pam Golding and then Pam Sneeman, it's Pam Golding, but she has a huge footprint in the country. So we can't make all the PDIs larger brands, but we need to select a few where we can make them into international brands so that they can operate at that level. And I do acknowledge the fact that this is one project that we're not going to see results overnight because it's never been done before. But if you look around in your neighborhoods, you'll see one that is successful, and we want to be able to amplify them at that level. Honorable Ditebe, I'll leave the question for the Disclosures Act last, to see if DG can tackle it regarding the home loans, since it was posed to him. And then I'll move to Honorable Gamede. Your comments are noted, and thank you. And Honorable Kikahilwe. So we do have awareness programs and stakeholder engagements throughout the country, but they have never been to say, provinces, help us with that transformation initiative. So this will be my takeaway for today. The same way I did with Northwest, I will go to Mangaung, I'll go to, all the provinces, and also talk to our other SOEs, your Department of Public Works. They dispose their properties, and I believe that our practitioners should be the ones who are given an opportunity, because it's also stipulated in the Act that anytime that a state-owned entity or does any asset disposals or real estate transactions, they need to use the services of PDIs. So it's there. We just need to make sure that it's enforced, and we have the buy-in of all the other provinces. So to answer your question, we've had awareness programs, but targeted to consumers, communities, and practitioners, but not to, to say, help us. But I think now that we've got this project that has that has piloted, I can say this is what KZN is doing. Help me do the same. Help the PPRA and the Department of Human Settlements do the same. And I think we're going to tell a beautiful story. And I don't foresee anybody saying, no, we don't want to be part of this beautiful initiative. And then Honorable Magagula, I couldn't hear you properly, but what I got was, I told you the numbers for the 750 from KZN, but of the 530 target that we've been able to achieve on this one learner, one practitioner, the 530 learners come from Kimberley, Gauteng province, Mangaung, Mpumalanga, and Northwest, because what we've done is we have cohorts, little cohorts. For example, in Mangaung, we've got 26 learners currently on our cohort. It started in May, it's ending in April next year. So I'll be able to tell the numbers of how many of these learners have completed, but we are doing it. It's a countrywide initiative where Services CETA is funding us. So I hope that's the one question that I was able to hear. And then last but not least, Chairperson, it is questions from Honorable Dlamini. So the program that she spoke of is called Listing Jozi, Listing Cape Town. And no, we are not part of any of these. We don't have the rights. These are in the, I don't know, entertainment space, TV space. But if your question is when are we going to have our own TV program, Honorable Minister always challenges us to be innovative. We will be looking at that in the future. But I just wanted to make sure that we get our bases right. So no, we are not. We don't have the rights to any of these programs. And as far as regulating pricing, it's and I leave the Western Cape because I think we'll need another session for this, Honorable Chairperson, where prices are prices are parachuted to ensure that it excludes certain barriers in the market. But all the pricing of all the properties, there's a market, it's market related. It depends on the area, it depends on the estate, if it's a gated community. So the prices that you see, because I've watched the programs, they're not far-fetched. Because we know that in taking mid-rent, for example, you can have properties as cheap as 400,000 and as expensive as 80 million in one suburb. But those are there's a comparative market analysis that goes into play, and it is also the duty of our property practitioners to ensure that these prices are not ballooned, as well as the duty of the conveyancers who are transferring these properties to ensure that the market prices are aligned with the areas and the condition of the property and all other factors. And as far as who gets a hold of this information, on all of our programs, we do advertise it on our websites. The Department of Human Settlements, the marketing, when we do have an ad that goes out, they list for us as well as where tenders are gazetted or listed rather, we list there. And also share with stakeholders. But I'll ensure and I'll talk to my stakeholder team to ensure that we have a wider reach. So because and also in newspapers we list. So with the KZN initiative, it was in the newspapers as well as the local newspapers to ensure that everybody has access to the information, so that when we also do interview these learners, we've got a wider pool. Chairperson, I think I've attempted or answered tackled all the questions that the members have raised. Thank you. I'll hand it over back to you. Thanks.
Thank you very much, CEO. Honorable Abada, are you?
Yes, Chair. So I was kicked out. I don't know what happened. Can I still give my recommendations?
Yes.
Okay. Morning to you and morning to members and everybody else on the platform. I just had one question. I don't think it was answered. How will PRA secure sustainable and consistent funding to scale and maintain its transformation programs, given the reliance on external grants and partnerships? And then with regards to my recommendations, PRA should explore partnerships with a broader range of stakeholders, such as private sector investors, international development organizations, and government agencies beyond the Department of Human Settlements. Establishing a dedicated transformation fund with multiple contributors can ensure long-term financial sustainability and scalability of programs. Also develop a comprehensive framework to monitor and evaluate the progress, impact, and outcomes of transformation programs. Those should include tracking employment rates, business sustainability, and participant feedback to refine and improve the initiatives continuously. Regular reporting and transparent communication with stakeholders will enhance credibility and attract further support. Also introduce strategies to ensure equitable access to programs across all provinces including rural and underserved areas. This could include decentralized program hubs, digital training platforms, and targeted recruitment campaigns to ensure inclusivity for disadvantaged groups nationwide. Thank you, Chair. The other questions were covered by the other members. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Ditewe, is that a legacy hand?
Yeah, Chair, it is. I'll see if we are within time, and maybe I could have a follow-up, but for now it is a legacy, and thank you very much.
Okay. CEO?
Thank you, Chair. The comments are noted by Honorable Abada, and I'll ensure that the recommendations given are implemented. But again, another takeaway is that establishing partnership with the private sector, I think we've started, but obviously there's more that can be done. And I think in one of my presentations, especially with this Rawson initiative, some of the training that it's provided, it's with the Rebosa business leadership program. So it's there. You've got two private sector partnerships in one. But I do agree that we should establish also just a fund with external, international, to ensure that we have long-term financial sustainability. But thank you, Chair. But all comments noted and recommendations will be implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO. Honorable Poole.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, and thank you for the presentation. Welcome it. Chair, I only have one, and I want to understand what is the role do stakeholders play in this part, such as industries, associations, and government departments, and supporting PRA's transformation initiatives. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. CEO.
Thank you, Honorable Poole. So and just so that I make sure I understand, so when you're talking industry association, so there is, I'm sure everyone on the forum will know who Rebosa is. However, there is other voluntary bodies, and I'll mention NPCC is the National Property Charter Council. I stand to be correct. This is where now we've got all other members. So we don't only have real estate practitioners, we've got auctioneers, we've got managing agents. And as far as transformation is concerned, they have given a proposal, right, of what they would want the transformation fund to be used towards, right? That's one. And then secondly, DG earlier spoke about, the BEE, and members would recall that this is one topic that have caused a lot of stir in the sector, in the country earlier this year, where most business owners, real estate business owners had said, this is not achievable, and whatever else. And then we went and consulted with the department, the legal team, and then we've also then gotten a legal opinion. But it was to say, what modalities can we use to ensure that this portion of the legislation is still implemented? So the talks, but I think now we are at acting stage, Honorable Poole, where the other industry associations, they have said that they're in support, which we've welcomed. They've supported verbally and in writing, but now we're saying, now let's put it, let's give this transformation that we speak of feet. One, we can't transform without these industry associations. Why? Because they've got all the tools, and tools, I mean, they've been in this game for over 50 years. So if we're going to transform in terms of knowledge transfer, skills transfer, expertise transfer, it has to be in partnership with them. and these are also our largest stakeholder as the PPRA. So we can, transform in silo or on our own. We need their buy-in, and I've been very vocal and bold and apologetic in that regard. And hopefully we will start seeing the results of the continuous engagement. So we are talking to them, Honorable Paul, and hopefully, not hopefully, the results will need to be seen by this forum, by the stakeholders, as far as transformation is concerned. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CEO. Honorable Dithebe.
Chairperson, thank you very much. I hope I heard all the questions, but then for what it is worth, let me repeat this one. There is a question among the questions that I asked, which I think was not fully answered. I asked in particular about a situation where a particular real estate agency may be in financial distress, and there being an opportunity to rescue it and take it over with the transformation mandate. Has the regulatory authority perhaps explored within the ambit of what the Act provides for? Has it considered that particular possibility and thereby expanding the frontier of transformation, as it were? And I mentioned here IDC, PIC, but there could very well be the law permitting, that is, instances where they collaborate for the sake of example, SHRA with SHRA, HDA, etc., just so that they are able to reach their objectives, to expand the reach or the frontiers of the frontiers of transformation. Chairperson, so I think just lastly, just in terms of the business value of each of the participants in the program, or that the regulatory authority has evolved. Indeed, the fact that you have these learnerships that are taking place, and with the likes of Ms. Masanabo and others taking part there, it is quite obvious that outside of the monetary gain for Rossen Properties, its value will appreciate because it is associated with something that is viewed positively. But I think in the long term, these particular participants themselves need to have their business value entrenched. Of course, they themselves must work very hard, very smart, innovatively, so that does happen. So I just want to emphasize once again that it should not simply be a matter of piggybacking on the likes of Rossen Properties. And of course, the method that is used at the moment, with the difficulty that we have in terms of property relations in this country, in respect of the different demographics, is a welcome one, but we need to do a lot more, so that we have to push the envelope wherever necessary. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, CEO.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So, Honorable Dithebe, in terms of PDIs who are in distress, I don't want to say they need to be rescued. We have not had one who comes with that angle. However, we've had a plethora of PDIs and non-PDIs regarding the issue of penalties. So our legislation requires us to charge penalties. For example, if you're late on issuing FFC. So we've reconsidered this aspect to ensure that people are still able to proceed with their businesses, and pardoning, again, within reason, some of the penalties and waiving them to ensure that they're not at a disadvantage. So this we have done which is provided for. But from your perspective, I have to consider and say no, but it's not to say that that's something that we cannot look at with your IDCs and PICs. So I take away from yourself, Honorable Ditebe, and your comments around just not focusing on one franchisor, I also noted. But for me, it was not the only one. It was, you know, similarly with the KZN, we've started a new thing, and please come and join us, and also, you know, with your various provinces and various franchises. So it was a start of something beautiful, and obviously we're looking forward to more collaborations and partnerships. But your comments around PIC and IDC will be explored further. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. We will always call you CEO on a regular basis, because transformation is a key thing, especially for us as this committee, in particular, and generally for the country. So, like the figures you were hinting of about 8 trillion or so. So we want our people to play a role. It will take time, but we want to appreciate that you are contributing a lot towards making sure that we realize this objective of transforming our economy. Thanks very much. We will always call you to come and brief the committee on the progress made on this issue. But for today, thank you. DG, your last comment, and take us to the next item.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. And just to indicate that we remain committed to the transformation program, we will brief the committee on regular intervals regarding the transformation program across the entire sector, and not just in the PPRA, but also in other entities and empowerment programs that we're pursuing there. And to also indicate that we will keep the committee abreast of the developments relative to the legal matter that we are defending in this regard, and we will carry through from there. Chair, with your permission, I could move to the presentation of the department for the second quarter numbers. And I do not know whether the Secretariat would flight the presentation. Please.
Selina.
Yes, Chair. I did give the rights to who's this lady? Because Kosi told me to give the rights to these two people, Lucy Bele and Ipeleng.
I see. So, CFO, could you flag the presentation there? Thank you very much. Please go to the... Thank you, Chairperson. I do not believe my presentation would be long at all, considering what I'm about to present to the committee. The committee is quite au fait with our APP and our targets that we set for ourselves to achieve in the second quarter, and which the APP was approved by the committee and supported as such. And mine is to present on behalf of the Minister the achievements within that quarter, and to also indicate where we have not achieved the targets. In this regard, and to account for that achievement, and to also indicate what we intend to do about going about achieving that non-achieved target. If we go to the next slide, Chairperson, I will not bore the committee with number 1, number 2, and I will, in essence, go straight to number 3, because the department has presented in the workshop about the programs of the department and how they are structured. And the budget structure was also presented there, and this is common. We, however, retain this in all our quarterly presentations, primarily because the agreement between the presiding officers of Parliament and the leader of government business have agreed to this format of presentation to committees, which is standardized across government. So we seek not to deviate from there, but we'll simply not touch those aspects because we've spoken to them all the time. They'll come back again and again each quarter in the same manner. We will just move to this and look at the overall performance of quarter 2. And in quarter 2, we have achieved 97% of all targets numerically. And in this regard, we had a total of 29 targets, of which 28 were achieved, and meaning that only not 2, but 1 target was not achieved, which translates to 97%. I think that 2 there is an error. It should read 1. So consequently, Chair, we look at the performance program by program. When we look at program 1, we had achieved all 9 of the 9 planned targets. In program 2, we had achieved all 7. And in program 3, we achieved 3 of the 4 targets. And in program 4, we achieved all 4 targets. And in program 5, affordable houses, we have achieved all 5 targets. Cumulatively, we had achieved all 28 of the 29. This, Chairperson, if we move to the next slide, represent a significant improvement from the first quarter, in which when I presented before the committee, I said I did duly indicate that the machine had just started and the oil was heating up, and we will ramp up the performance. And I committed that we'll be in the upper 90s in quarter 2. And we had since moved from 87% to 97% in quarter 2. We intend to keep it in the upper 90s going forward. And we were just barely almost achieved all 100% of the targets in this quarter. And you'll understand why I'm saying so when I come to the program dealing with informal settlements. Can we move to the next slide? In the next slide, Chairperson, I will not waste time. I take the presentation is read in terms of the issues we said we'll set ourselves up, and we had said to the committee that we were improving our processes. I think the most important take home in this regard is that we said we are planning for an unqualified audit opinion. And in order for us to do this, we have revamped our internal processes to improve on controls, and we have elevated the role of the audit steering committee. And even more importantly, we said we will begin to target our actions and ensure that we don't wait until the end of the financial year to deal with the difficulties. The disciplined execution right through the financial year must be measured to ensure that quarter by quarter, we do not have any adverse findings. And after the internal audit process have looked at our second quarter books, they had not identified any material findings. We are happy with that arrangement, because if we achieve it quarter by quarter, it means by the end of the financial year, we stand in a better state to achieve the clean audit as we had set ourselves that target. But you can also see that even in terms of the one target that last financial year, if you recall, we missed one invoice to pay that invoice to ensure that we are compliant. But this time around, in the first quarter, 100%, in the second quarter, 100% as well. We are on the run, and if we keep it this way in the third quarter, 100%, and fourth quarter, 100%, we would have eliminated this as a previous repeat finding. Chairperson, we can move to the next slide.
And there is in program 2, which deals with integrated human settlements planning and development program. And in this regard, we had set ourselves a number of targets there. And in those targets, we had said that we will undertake them, and of importance was our timeless review and monitoring of the projects as per the business plan. And knowing that our financial years with municipalities overlap, we had tried to improve on the timing within which we then are able to get the reports from the municipalities and review those, and also make sure that we take corrective steps when time still allows for us to do the stop and reallocation process. And to this extent, in both the HSDG as well as the USDG, we're able to have this reviewed and have reporting reports that monitor the projects as per the approved business plans. Next slide. In that next slide is program 2, which is informal settlements upgrading. And this is the area where we have just one target that has not been met. And if you are aware, that is about one disaster awareness session that was supposed to be conducted. And at the time, we had planned and we were ready with it. The MINMAC suggested further changes to the disaster framework. And with that regard, we then decided proactively that we could do malicious compliance and proceed with the session, in which case we get 100% compliance. However, it is prudent that we amend first the framework, and only after the framework has been approved to then run the session based on that approved framework. So there are efforts now to get the framework approved so that this target that is now lagging behind, that it's overtaken by events in the third quarter, it gets implemented so that we don't have any of the targets that run behind schedule at the end of the financial year. So that's why I was saying earlier that with proper work, we would have achieved that part. So if we move to program 4, which is rental and social housing program, here we have achieved all the targets that we set for ourselves. And in this regard, you would also recall that one of the things that we have been lagging behind around was the finalization of the training program and the support to be provided to the 9 provincial rental housing tribunals. This time around, we were able to pull it off and to get all of them into stream. We said that in the second quarter, we would be having this roadshow and going around. Indeed, we have managed to achieve exactly that. And I think we can then move to the next program, which is affordable housing program. In this case, the 5 targets, all 5 were met. And what we pride ourselves with in that regard is on the work we are doing around the first home finance and the support we have provided to the NHFC in getting the work going and in troubleshooting in those specific areas where the targets have been lagging behind and we were not getting joy from the provinces and from the implementers, and we were able to intervene and work with the NHFC to get all the targets to be achieved. Next one, which is an overview of financial performance. And I think also, as I've already indicated in this regard, we aren't doing bad from where we are supposed to be in terms of the total allocation vis-a-vis our expenditure to date. Considering that this is the second quarter, we think that we are on track, and by the normative graphs, we are not far off the mark in terms of where we are supposed to be. And this is showing for the first time correlation between outputs as well as expenditure. And we are beginning to be happy ourselves with what we are seeing as a streamlined effort to get these things right. And just to indicate again that these numbers have been looked at by our internal audit, we will volunteer ourselves for a preliminary audit by the AG, and that they also have a first run at these numbers even before the real audit commences. And we think that that practice is good. It affords us an opportunity that where there are deficiencies that are being identified, we still have room to correct where necessary without such corrections impacting the books. With those comments and the overview. Chair, with your indulgence, I wish to request that the CFO then takes you through program by program in terms of the expenditure patterns and what that looks like to reinforce the message I've shared with the committee this morning.
Thank you, DG. Chairperson, members of the Human Settlements Portfolio Committee, DG colleagues, good morning. I will be taking the committee through the financial performance, and as DG had already indicated that there is a correlation between the financial and the non-financial, and we are not far off to where we are supposed to be because we are halfway into the financial year. And the upper portion is giving us the programs as they were mentioned above by the DG, and this is the budget allocations per the programs. The last one that program 5, affordable housing, that is where the first home finance is sitting, and we can see that we are doing very well there. We have transferred all the money to the first home finance, and they are busy reallocating and doing well in that regard. Hence, we are sitting at 88%. And the second one is rental and affordable housing. This is the social housing where Shura is sitting. We are sitting at 60%. And the integrated human settlements planning and development, that's where our 2 biggest grants are sitting. And on my other slides, I will be showing the transfers to the municipalities together with the transfers to the provinces. The administration, that's where our administration is sitting, and we are not doing very bad in that regard because we are sitting at 44%. The bottom part is giving us the same breakdown, however, as per the economic classification, whereby we are able to see the different line items. For example, compensation of employees, we are sitting at 45%. So from where we are sitting, we don't even see or anticipate an under expenditure by end of the financial year because we are already with only 5%, and we have started advertising the positions, and some of them will be filled and will be able to meet the 100% expenditure. And on the goods and services, chairperson and members, it is linked to our procurement plan. For the past 2 weeks, we have been sitting down as team finance with all of the branch heads, going line by line on their procurement plan so that we are able that we are in par on what we submitted to National Treasury, that this is what we are going to procure, and then how far are we going. And we had already agreed with the bid committees that they need to sit together with the bid adjudication committee. It's sitting on a regular basis and also on ad hoc basis to ensure that what we have put on our procurement plan, it is procured. And we can see that by the 30th of September, we had 54 million commitments. So if that 54 million commitments is realized, we can see that we will be improving on the 30%. And the transfers and subsidies, that's where our grants and the transfers to the entities, and then I'll talk to them later on, as well as the payments of capital assets is our TRUs. We can see that on the 337 allocation, we have, even though we've spent 83 million, but we have got commitments. Commitment means that we have appointed the service providers, and most of them are on the ground, and they are doing they're doing work on the ground, hence the 315. So even though it's reflecting a 25%, but we have a commitment, we have appointed the service providers across the country erecting the TRUs. The next slide. Oh, why is not moving now? My screen is frozen. Apologies, chairperson and members. The next slide is giving a breakdown of all the transfers that were made as of the 30th of September 2024. We're starting with our grants that are transferred to provinces, and this is aligned to the payment schedule that has been approved together with National Treasury and the cash flows that are submitted by the provinces, and we are sitting at 55%. And on the grants that are submitted to municipalities, we are sitting at 27%. The reason why it's 27% is because only one tranche due to the financial year of the metros that had already started. So the metros are on their first quarter because their financial year started in August. So we had only transferred one tranche, which was transferred in July. Hence, we are sitting at 27%. And as we speak now, the other tranche has been transferred because it was due around November. And on the transfers to our entities, we had already transferred to SHRA, together with the NHFC, the 100%, and we are still left with the social housing, the Housing Development Agency, as well as the Consolidated Capital Grant that we still have to transfer to SHRA. The bottom part talks to our departmental transfers, which is we have got our scholarship program, we are sitting at 42%. And on the UN Habitat, we are sitting at 91%. So we anticipated that because this is a foreign exchange, we are going to pay 3 by 3, but because of the interest rates, we had a saving of 309. And on the Cities Alliance, we had a saving of 54 because also this one is our international body. And the household, we are sitting at over with 515. This is where we pay the people that leave the department. However, by end of the financial year, when we sit down, we are able to request Treasury that we can close all the minuses because now we had paid more than what we had anticipated. This slide talks to the emergency housing. This is where the emergency response is at. We are showing that the total allocation for the emergency housing fund is 496 million. However, we have divided it and we had requested Treasury that we split it so that we are able to show the responses that we are doing. Number one, 10 million has been reallocated to goods and services, which is the assessments that are done by that are done by the NHBRC when there is damage to the houses after an immediate disaster. And then the travel and subsistence, this is for the emergency housing team when they are all over the country doing the awareness, and as well as when they are busy assessing the damages as well. And we've got the response of the building materials, whereby we have reallocated 80 million. And then we have got the repairs, and that is sitting at 80 million because we have got, after the assessments have been done by NHBRC, some of the recommendations that are coming from NHBRC is that we need to go and do repairs to either the windows, or we are repairing the walls, whatever repair it might be. And then the last portion is the TRUs, which is the temporary residential units. And we can see that we are doing well when it comes to the response on the building materials, and as well as travel and subsistence, 59 million. However, up to date, we have not received the invoices from the NHBRC. However, we know that there is work that NHBRC is doing because they are the only entity that is assisting us with the assessments. And on the repairs, as we speak, we have already done the repairs in the Free State Province. And when we come on the third quarter, we'll be able to see a movement in this line item. And on the TRUs, I had already spoken to it and the commitments in that regard, that we are sitting at 28%. The next slide is talking to the Human Settlement Development Grant as of the 30th of September. When we look at the grant, out of the 13.6 billion, we have spent all the provinces, the 7 billion, just to round it off, and the unspent funds totally is 6.7 billion. However, we look at what is it that we have transferred vis-a-vis what has been spent. So against that, we are sitting at 89%. However, I'm going to pay the last 5 minutes, I'm going to be talking to the last slide that talks to the percentage spent against the total available, because we are now 6 months into the financial year. And this is where we start analyzing all the provinces, whether they will be able to spend the entire allocation or they are red flags. So when we look at the ones that are sitting in green, the green are those that are sitting above 50%. So all of these ones that are sitting above 60%, we are saying that when you look at their performance, especially the financial performance, they're doing very well. They will be able to spend 100%. However, when we look at the red, which is Gauteng, Northern Cape, and Western Cape, and the Ember is sitting with the Free State Province. So these are the ones that we are saying that we need to start indulging them more, having discussions. So what we did when we saw these numbers, we wrote to them initially to request them to submit their recovery plans. When we went to MINMEC in Free State, those recovery plans, they were discussed there. However, we were requested by the MINMEC that we need to come back and request other recovery plans looking at the figures of October, of which we did the same. We have just received the last batch of the mitigations. We are analyzing whether they will be able, or what they've put down as recovery plans is making sense, whether they will be able to absorb those funds. I need to caution the meeting chairperson and members that last year we had funds that reverted back to the revenue fund from the provinces as well, because the same exercise was done. We requested them to submit the recovery plans, of which they did. And then we looked at the recovery plans whereby the provinces will be saying that we will be able to spend 100% of the allocation. Come end of the year, when they're supposed to go to National Treasury with the unspent funds and request the rollovers, most of the rollovers were not approved by National Treasury, and we had to lose funds back to the fiscus. Hence, now we are doing that exercise thoroughly to make sure that we are not leaving anything behind. However, chairperson and members, when we look at Northern Cape, we know that the 9% that is sitting there is not necessarily the HSDG expenditure. We know that the Northern Cape have already started, or they are busy doing the front loading. So what they usually do is, when we pay them or we transfer the tranche, the HSDG tranche, they will keep them at the provincial treasury. And when it's due to the DBSA, the provincial treasury pays the amount that has been front loaded back to the provincial treasury. So they told us that they are paying it on a quarterly basis. So when we give them the transfers, they keep them in their provincial treasury, and end of the quarter, they will pay DBSA on what they had agreed on. So that is the reason why they are reflecting a 9%. And I had to spend some time trying to explain that the 9% is not necessarily expenditure, but it's what they need to pay back because of the pledging that they did. When we look at the informal settlements partnership grant, is the same processes that we have done on the HSDG. We are doing it on the informal settlements upgrading partnership grant. We have also on Friday last week received the recovery plans for Western Cape, for Northwest, for Free State, and Gauteng provinces. We are busy today finalizing so that we can make the submission to the EA on the analysis whether these provinces will be able to absorb these funds, or there is a process that we need to go on and the recommendations that we'll be making. Because when we look at last year, a lot of money from this grant, they reverted back to revenue fund because the provinces said they're going to spend the money. However, come end of the year, when they had to submit their financials, Treasury could see that they did not spend 100% on the grant, and they couldn't even get approval for the rollovers, and the monies had to revert back to the revenue fund. Hence, we are busy with the process of looking at the recovery plans thoroughly. The Urban Settlement Development Grant is the grant that we are transferring to the metros. And the reason why all of them are sitting with red is because this is their first quarter, and we had transferred the grant around July. And we know that by this particular point in time, all the metros, they were busy finalizing their books because they submit their financials around the 30th of August to National Treasury and the Auditor General. So the reason that both of them, they're saying they're sitting in red is because they were closing the books for the last financial year. However, we will see an improvement for this financial year. So we will start the same processes that we have done with the provinces. We are going to do it in January with the metros because they would have been sitting at their second quarter. And These are the conclusion, Chair, and I have spoken to them. I'm not going to dwell much because all of the issues that we are putting here is what I had already explained. And yeah, I think I've covered everything, Chairperson and members. DG, thank you. And the area of improvement that we are putting forward is that we see that we still have to strengthen the area of intersectoral collaboration to improve the accountability and the timers reporting when it comes to the provinces and metros and the other organs of state. Thank you so much.
Thank you, CFO. DG, are you fine?
Yes, Chairperson, that's our story. Thank you very much this morning. Thanks.
Thank you, DG. Honorable members, do you have questions, comments, recommendations? Honorable Poole.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the presentation, CEO. Chair, really, I want to applaud the department for a wonderful feedback after the second quarter. It's exactly what we asked previously, that we have these continuous update of how the human settlements progressing and how they perform. And yes, I want to applaud them so far. And yes, and thank you for the CFO alluded to it, that some of the provinces didn't spend as they want, but they already received recovery plan from that different provinces. It also shown that the department did do the necessary consequence management in that regard, seeing that all its provinces will exactly spend the money allocated to them. So yes, that's only comments, but I want to applaud the department. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Krakile.
Thank you, Chair, and let me also appreciate the presentation and the improved performance presented. I've got a few questions, but I know I'm straight to the point. My first question is with regard to Program 4 under achievements. 100% support was provided to 5 provinces on the implementation of the CRU program. And my first question is, what are those provinces? And did the department target only those 5 provinces? And what about other provinces? And then my second question is with regard to the departmental expenditure. Affordable housing is at 88% expenditure. So my question is it a good or a bad indication? Because we are only in our second quarter and the expenditure is already at 88%. And then looking at the transfers to the entities, most of the entities, they've received their 100%, and HDA, it has only received 50%. And SHRA, they've only received 60% for consolidated capital grant. Why are these two not given the 100% as the others has received their 100% transfers? And then when it comes to informal settlement upgrading partnership grant and urban settlement development grant, we see there 31% for informal settlement and 26% for urban settlement of grants which were transferred. And then looking at the conditions of our settlement and the amount transfer, do we really expect to see any change, Chair? And why is the grant not transferred so that work can be done to improve the lives of our people? And then when it comes to Program 3, I don't know whether I've missed it, but in my presentation, I did not see any target presented, target achieved presented, and it's like we are not doing well in program 3. What are the plans for the department, and what is it that they've achieved, and what are the challenges with program 3? And then expenditure by provinces on HSDG. KZN is at 114, Limpopo 116, Northwest 117 of expenditure transferred. And these provinces, they've spent almost more than 100% of the funds which were transferred, not the total allocated grant. So when will the remaining grant be transferred so that the province can continue with the outstanding work? And then the issue of Northern Cape, it was clearly explained. Thank you very much, Chair. Those were my questions.
Thank you. Honorable Dithebe.
Thank you very much. Greetings once again to yourself, honorable members, the DG, and the team. Chairperson, let me join other members in indeed thanking the HS team led by the Minister, and indeed the DG leading the team of administration to give us this final outcome, with the understanding that it's aluta continua, it's Kaizen, it's continual improvement of things, because that's where we are headed in line with the ideal of providing housing security and comfort to our people, and indeed expanding the frontiers, as it were, as far as housing is concerned, human settlements, perhaps I should say. Chair, the first question relates to, and I saw something, some reference made to UN Habitat. We would like to just know that with UN Habitat on the verge of setting up office in our country, in respect of our portfolio, with all of the work that the department is doing, ISUPG, HSDG, USDG, and a whole host of other activities, in particular those, Chair. Has the department perhaps done some projection as to how that is going to help the department improve its performance, particularly in terms of the upgrade of slums and informal settlements in our country? That's the first question, Chair. Now, with regards to the NHFC, I once again want to commend the department for having ensured that that transfer is indeed 100% achievement. But linked to that, Chair, is how far then is the whole process of ensuring that that particular entity finally metamorphoses into a human settlements bank, as the department indeed informed the committee that that is the ultimate objective. And tied to that, Chair, the whole issue of the administrative and leadership issues at the entity NHFC, insofar as they relate to the person in charge, that is the Chief Executive Officer. Are they on course to bring those to finality? Because I can imagine that if there is a lingering uncertainty, in as much as on the financial front, they have succeeded in doing the transfer, but the mood within the organization, the NHFC, that is, if there is a perception on the part of the personnel, the staff, that this matter is far from over, certainly that will impact the entity negatively, thereby impacting the very roadmap of transforming NHFC into a fully fledged Human Settlements Development Bank. So, Chair, tied to that, whether with this, the department, in conclusion, is on course in line with the questions that were put to the department in one of the presentations, to ensure that the whole issue of integration of the work that the department does and within the context of the district development model, and broadly within the context of the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act, specifically land use schemes by municipalities for purposes in particular of upgrading slums and human settlement, informal settlements, whether we can say with certainty that the entire cycle, the municipalities are on board, the provinces, and that we can account for every milestone that is being erected in respect of the attainment of that particular thing. And lastly, Chair, just in line also with the department's intent to overhaul the PI Act. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Gamede.
Chair, thank you very much. I just want to make this a recommendation to the DG and also to the entire team of the human settlement, especially in the programs like the one that was presented by the PPRA. It's just a recommendation, not only in the PPRA, but in all entities. If one can make a recommendation to say, maybe in these programs that also includes the programs for graduates can be integrated into, if they can be integrated into a formal property industry. And if they are facing challenges, we must come together and verify what are those challenges so that we'll be able to assist them in the near future. I just wanted to make a comment on that one. Honorable Chair, for me today, I think from reading that what you call the presentation from the department, it also brings us to it brings us to one conclusion, to this conclusion, Chair, especially with regards to the alignment with the national development plans. Achieving all 9 targets after reading that what you call that presentation, achieving all 9 targets demonstrates the committee success in aligning its effort with broader national development frameworks such as the National Development Plan and also the Sustainable Development Goals. And also the impact, this alignment ensures that the committee's work contributes to achieving national and also international policy goals related to housing, urban development, and human well-being. The achievement of all 9 planned targets, by the Portfolio Committee on Human Settlements, such as strong leadership, effective collaboration, and a significant positive impact on service delivery, economic growth, social inclusion, and also sustainability. The success not only enhances the committee's credibility, but also contributes to addressing pressing challenges in housing and urban development. I want to close by saying together we can do more. Let us continue make sure that we work together. Even when there are challenges, let us sit down and find an amicable solution in everything. I thank you, Chair. And also thanks to the team led by the DG.
Together we can do more. Thank you. DG?
Thank you very much, Chair. I would suggest that the CFO starts and deal with the matters pertaining to the questions raised with expenditure patterns and the transfers and why other and other entities were given lesser than the others and why the ISUPG is being transferred in a manner that seems erratic and not uniformly. So I would wanted to address those, then I will come in and address some of the last issues that were raised, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. DG, I'm going to start with the question that was posed by Honorable Kekakilwe on the affordable housing, that we are sitting at 88%, whether it's a good thing or not. And then I'm going to respond to that using the slide that shows the transfers. Now, under of affordable housing, it's where NHFC is sitting. So when we look at the 88%, it talks to the First Home Finance, the capital grant together with the operational grant, and we had transferred 100%. And it is a good thing because it shows the uptake by the beneficiaries in this regard. I remember around after the end of the second quarter, when we were waiting for the surplus retention, we did receive a letter from the CEO of the NHFC that they are really running out of fund, especially when it comes to the First Home Finance, and we had to rush National Treasury so that they can allow them to utilize even the surplus funds that were sitting in their coffers. So it means that by around October, November, they had already utilized the 401 that we had transferred to them. And they were, because of the uptake as well, and they also requested National Treasury if they can retain the surplus from the previous financial years that was not utilized. And National Treasury did allow. So it means that when it comes to the First Home Finance, we are doing very well. Hence, we are sitting at the transfers of 88%. Then when we talk to HDA and SHRA, the way the transfers to entities works is we would receive a request from the entities. So by the 30th of September, it means that HDA, they had only requested half of their annual allocation. When we closed the books, the second quarter books, we had not yet received a drawdown. We call it a drawdown request. So the CEO will send to us to say that this is how much we have spent, what you have transferred to us, and we are running out of funds. We are requesting that you transfer the balance. As well as on the social SHRA, on the CCG, the Consolidated Capital Grant. By the end of the second quarter, we had not yet received a request from the entity, but we had, after subsequent to that, we had requested, we have received the request from the entities to say that they need to receive the last of their transfers for the financial year. And the other question from Honorable Kekakilwe was on the grants to municipalities. Why are we sitting with 26% and we are sitting with 31%? So the transfers to municipalities, they are done in tranches. Beginning of their financial year, they will submit their plans. The plans are accompanied by the cash flow projections. Then we send those cash flow projections to National Treasury. The metros would have, together with the provinces, told us that the cash flow projections for tranche 1 is this much. For the second tranche, which is done for the metros, is done around November. This is how much they will do. And then the third one is done around February. So we do 3 tranches to the metros. When we submit to National Treasury formally would approve. So we cannot transfer what is not approved by the National Treasury, because we know that these are borrowed funds. So before we can transfer, Treasury is supposed to make funds available for us to be able to transfer. And we cannot transfer more than what we had requested. So the 27% that is sitting there on the total grants to municipalities is what we as national, together with the metros, had submitted to National Treasury. Then when we come back, because the second tranche, it goes around November, then it would increase. Treasury will make available what we had requested, and that's what we will be able to transfer. And this, it also answers the transfer to the provinces on the HSDG. When we can see that KwaZulu-Natal, they have spent more than what they had requested. Limpopo has spent more than what they've requested. Northwest, they've spent more than what we had requested. So for the provinces, we transfer on the monthly basis. We have a payment schedule that is agreed between ourselves and the provinces and National Treasury. However, because when we transfer the funds for the provinces, they go to the provincial treasuries. The provincial departments would enter into agreements with the provincial treasuries to say you are able to spend up to this much until we receive another money from national. However, we also give them an opportunity. If they want to revise their payment schedule, they will formally write to us, the provinces, to say, we think that now we have even exceeded the threshold that we have agreed with our provincial treasuries, and we need to pay, or we are struggling to pay our service providers. Then we will take that request of the cash flow and a revision of the payment schedule. We will make a submission to National Treasury. National Treasury would approve. Then once they have approved, that's when we can pay the remainder. If we don't get a request for the revision, we are unable to pay what is not on the approved payment schedule, because Treasury is the one that makes the funds available for us to be able to pay. When we want to pay more than that, we are not allowed by the system, because Treasury would have loaded the exact amount per the approved payment schedule per province that we are expected to transfer on that particular month. DG, I think I've covered all the easy questions on the financial. I'm going to leave the questions that were posed by Honorable Ditebe and Honorable Gamete to the DG. Thank you so much, Chair and members.
Chair, thank you very much. On the questions that were raised by Honorable Ditebe, the first part is to acknowledge that indeed all of us in government are striving towards this collaborative and intergovernmental effort. And the district development model has seen some degree of success, but considering that the overall result is to a production of a single plan for a district where everybody works in tandem on that plan, we have on the part of ourselves, particularly with metros, that's where we said we will start at and we will focus on. We believe that from a human settlements point of view, we are quite aligned in that we have produced the single plans for human settlement. But do recall that the DDM model does not speak to only one sectoral plan. It speaks to an overall plan of that district in its totality. And so whether we are effective in contributing our own aligned plans to a bigger district plan in this regard, we think that we have been able to to submit what we could, and whether these plans are fully assimilated and coordinated at that level, it's something else, because I can tell you that the meetings of the district planning structures are quite erratic in other areas and quite consistent in other areas. And where they do meet regularly, we have all our DDGs in our part, who each and every one is a champion for a province. And whenever these meetings do take place for a planning effort, we are there to participate, to do that. And even from a point of view of where we are lagging behind, we have instituted war rooms to be able to do the work in those spaces to play catch up at the behest and instruction of our minister. And therefore, we are striving. It is not a perfect model, but we are striving to see that greater collaboration and cooperation. Again, Honorable Ditebe, by injunction, wants to know whether indeed we are committed to continuous improvement in this regard. Indeed, we are. We have dedicated ourselves to be a continuous learning organization and to working on our past mistakes and working on where we are faltering and not doing well, and having casting our eyes a bit far back as 7 years to study the trends, not just from a performance point of view, but also expenditure, also practice, also policy and everything. And as you may see, in totality, we are an organization that is reviewing itself, reviewing all its policies, and we are an organization that is positing itself as an organization committed to improve. And those improvements are beginning to show. I think the numbers do not lie. The practice does not lie. Our ability to be responsive and how quickly we are on the ground when, say, for instance, disasters have occurred is beginning to show. We are also mopping up some of our historical failures, where we have had abandoned projects and where we have had blocked projects, and where even in the past we have not managed to attend to the disasters in a satisfactory manner for citizens. We are going back, we are correcting what is where we have failed, and we are where we are today as an improved and continuously improving institution. And I think that we have dedicated ourselves that if we can't even work on the things like getting a clean audit, we can't really be taken seriously. We can't even manage the meager and limited resources we're having compared to the big challenge we are facing. And then we are not worthy to be taken serious about what else we are capable of doing in terms of the bigger things and of moving with the time. So we have said that we will start small, and it is the smaller things that matter because they build habits of a winner. And that's where our focus is on. And therefore, we are indeed committed to improvement and to working with the provinces closely. And we are committed to that partnership in this regard. I thought that what Honorable Gamed was raising was in essence the point that he welcomes the presentation and he sees that there is some degree of improvement. He does credit this improvement to the oversight role of the committee and the effectiveness with which the committee collaborates with us, the department, and in the dynamic relationship we have. And he was actually calling for us to continue on this trajectory to work together. We can commit to ourselves that indeed we are committed to working with the committee going forward to continue in this trajectory that Honorable Gamete believes is effective and shows alignment of thinking and execution and of the plans with the bigger plans of the country, and therefore he's in support. And we too welcome the gesture of the committee to continue working in tandem with us. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, DG, CFO, and members. Just a few questions from me. In your report, I know the DG touched a bit on it. In your report, I don't see how you implement the issues that emanated from the AG's report in terms of correcting where you are supposed to correct. Because I guess it must also be a quarterly thing. The plan which will lead to what the DG is saying of getting a clean audit. Two, on the issue of tribunals, because at some stage, I think we're told that there are provinces that they know about BNG, but they don't know what other entities are doing in their provinces. For example, Shra, to an extent that they may not be having tribunals. But I see in your report, you are saying all 9 provinces have tribunals. Maybe if you can confirm that. Also, the performance of entities. Yesterday, I was in one meeting where the AG was reporting, and I think NHFC, as you are one of your entity, is highlighted there in terms of performance. I'm not sure whether, I know we talked about some of these issues, but when the AG yesterday presented, she still highlighted NHFC. On the issue of expenditure, this 60%, 88%, and so on, is it 88% of the annual budget, or is it 88% of the transfer that is supposed to be made on a quarterly basis? And I would like the DG or the CFO to explain this departmental transfers to UN Habitat, cities, households, just for members to understand what is it that you are transferring and what you are transferring it for what, and how do we benefit out of those. And the Northern Cape issue, CFO tried to explain, but from our perspective as a committee, we see 200 and something million, for example, allocated to Northern Cape. And when we go for oversight, Northern Cape having said, I've spent 100%, would want to see that spending on the ground. But in this case, out of 200 and something that you are allocating, 200 million is repayment of a debt. And when we say, unless we explain it differently, when you say they have spent 200 million, is there no way that you can put it differently? Because when we go there, or any other person is told Northern Cape has spent 269 million. But when you look at on the ground, the 200 million will not be there because it's gone to pay debt. We'll only look at the 69. We might query them to say, hey, your report says you have spent 269 million, whilst the 200 million was meant to pay debt. I don't know whether you understand me. So I don't know whether in your language, accounting language and so on, is there no way that you can put it? Because if you put it here, then I go there and I don't find 269 million, but 69 million. I'm not sure. If you can just assist me in that regard. Thank you, DG.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, let me just start with the the simpler one. We are saying we have gone to all provinces to indicate to the provinces and to share with them on the work of the tribunal, what the tribunal ought to do, and so on. So this is an enabling capacity building session that we are on the same page and there is uniformity of approach across all provinces, and that this will also be an enabler for the provinces that are not having fully fleshed and functional tribunals for them to know how to go about it and to start and to move from there. So that support to provinces have been provided on the work that tribunals do and they ought to do and what the law provides for. If one moves to the next issue, Chairperson, the other issue you are raising, which is pertinent and important, is the matter relative to the expectation of linking budget with what happens on the ground. We must indicate that the business plan, in terms of its constitution and how it's designed, is supposed to bring the two to the fore and marry the two into one. So when we also do the assessments of the business plans on the grounds, we look at how the money is being tied to which specific projects and what the province say it will essentially deliver in that project in line with the objectives as laid down in the grant framework for that specific grant. So when we do the quarterly assessments, we also assess not just the expenditure, but we also assess the impact of that expenditure. In other words, whether what the province had said it will do with that money, it is actually utilizing that money to do those things. So where we find, like we had before in a place like Northwest, where we found that because of their historical debts, they had been utilizing a portion of this, like a current year budget, to defray costs that of a previous nature and so on, without having asked for that. We were able to pick it up and we're able to intervene and we're able to insist on them doing the right thing and in correcting this and correcting their cash flows and in reapplying afresh for repurposing of the grant in this regard, as the minister will approve, and also getting the necessary support of the treasury. So we do monitor that, Chair, that is the case, and that we are looking at that. Minister has now said that he's satisfied with this aspect of work that we are doing. But what she has challenged us to stretch those boundaries to is that she's not concerned whether indeed the money is being used for the intended purpose. What she's worried about now is the issue of the quality of the spending and whether what we have spent on those things we said we'll spend on, we are spending qualitatively. Put differently, are we getting value for money? And are we paying the right price? And are we sure that this is the right way of going about it? So given those considerations, this is our new frontier. This is where we are going. And we are looking at ways and means of introducing new control measures, including new tests to determine whether indeed we are getting value for money and whether we are paying the right price. And there are various other things that we are looking into, some of which when the portfolio committee was in Ekurhuleni for a meeting with provinces, I did highlight there, including our effort at trying to create a transversal contract and a centralized panels that we can, no longer be price takers, but be price determiners in this regard to achieve greater impact. Chair, with your indulgence, let me give over to the CFO to answer some of your questions because they are relative to the issue of expenditure and budget. CFO?
Thanks, DG. I will start with the audit action plan. Usually, after we receive the final audit report and the management report from the Auditor General, we have got a unit in the department called Internal Control, whereby they will come on an Excel sheet, put all, even the housekeeping or the admin matters that have been raised, we will populate them in that sheet. We'll send them to the branch managers so that we are able to track the progress. And we use the percentages on the spreadsheet to see that on a quarterly basis, we are expected to report to the Departmental Audit Committee on the progress of the audit action plan. So for the first quarter, we went to the audit committee, we reported the progress on all the issues that were raised by the Auditor General. We also reported the progress made, and all the branch heads were held accountable for the movement or on improving the issues. So if the portfolio committee recommends that we bring it as part of the presentation, we can do that. We have an Excel sheet and a presentation in that regard that shows all the issues that were raised on the audit report, together as well as on our management report that we have received, and the progress thereof, and even the end date to when do we expect that particular branch head would have attended to those issues. So all the branch heads in the department, they know the issues, and then they are expected to report back to us. And what we usually do, once we receive the inputs, we send it to the internal audit, because we want internal audit to go and audit and verify that indeed what the branch head are saying. If one particular branch head will say, we have already addressed this issue 100%, the internal audit goes and checks and comes back to the team and tells us whether they are happy they've audited, and if there are issues, we will, or the internal audit will write a report, and then we will take it to the branch head so that it can be rectified. And Chair, on the performance of the entities, on a quarterly basis, even on our MinTop, there is a standing line item where we discuss the performance of the entities. And when we did also with the NHFC, the issues that were flagged by the internal audit, by the Auditor General, they are known to us as a department, and they were discussed fully when we were doing the annual report, and as well as the NHFC, they were requested as well to go and prepare the audit action plan. So once they've done, they submit to us on a quarterly basis, and we'll be able to discuss, because as a transferring officer, we need to keep in contact with our entities and to ensure that they are as well preparing the audit action plan and attending to the issues that are raised by the Auditor General. So what we are doing on our side, we are also doing on the entities. When they submit their quarterly reports, we are expecting them to submit this as well. When we have the performance review sessions that we are having with our provinces and the metros, we also perform the performance review sessions for the entities. And this one is one of the items that is a standing item when we do those performance reviews, to see that how far are they attending to the issues that have been raised by the Auditor General as well. Now, when we come to the issues of the transfers vis-a-vis the issues of the expenditures, I'm going to start with the transfers. Now, these transfers is what we are transferring out. Hence, we are calling it transfers, including the grants, including our departmental entities and our departmental transfer. So a transfer is not necessarily an expenditure. It's what we have transferred out. So when you look at NHFC, because the implementing agent is NHFC, it's reflected as a transfer. However, in our books, because the money has gone out, it's going to be an expenditure in our books on that transfer. However, the actual expenditure on the transfers will be on the performance of the entity itself. So when we look at the second quarter performance of NHFC, we will be able to go into detail to see how much out of the 401 million that we have transferred for the first home finance, how much has NHFC spent on that particular regard. So the same as all the entities, when we look at Shra, we have transferred 457 million. In our books, it's a transfer, but it will reflect as if it's an expenditure. But it is an actual transfer. When we want to see the actual expenditure on the CCG, Shra are the ones that are supposed to give us, when we do the performance review of SHRA, they are able to indicate that out of the transfers, this is the social housing that we've done, and this is the leveraging that we've done, and so on and so on. So all of the entities, it happens like that. Now, when we come to the departmental transfers, we have got a scholarship program. This is not necessarily a transfer, but because of the classification from National Treasury, and we are not taking it to the entities. However, this one goes for the students that are in the universities. We don't pay the students, but however, we pay the financial institution. These are the bursaries, not for the internal employees. However, for the learners that are busy studying, the undergraduates, for the bachelors of human settlements, we pay when we get the applications. Usually the amount will go down after the matric exams. Come January, we will be receiving a lot of applications. So the scholarship program is the one that we are paying for the entities, for the learners out there. The UN Habitat Chair, just to be simple, this talks to what happened in Egypt, in Cairo. So when we look at the UN Habitat, we are a member. So for this department, we are a member of the two international bodies, the UN Habitat that talks to the informal settlements, and the Cities Alliance. The Cities Alliance is more on the USDG and the metros, that we are dealing with the challenges that are affecting the metros. So as we the Department of Human Settlements, we are the one that are transferring the biggest grant to the metros. Hence, we are aligned to the Cities Alliance. That's where we look at all the SDGs around the Cities Alliance. We look at the challenges that are affecting, what is it that we can learn from the member countries. So as a country, we are a member of the Cities Alliance through the Department of Human Settlements for these two international bodies. Now, the households is where we pay when individuals have left the department. It's not necessarily a transfer, but it's what we would pay out, all the monies that we are owing to people when they are leaving the department. We classify it as households. Now, I want to explain, Chair, if you allow, the Northern Cape. 3 years ago, the Minister of Finance, he announced that as a country, because of the fiscal constraints, they are going to pilot what we call front loading. Front loading is you bring forward your MTEF allocation. So for Northern Cape, I want to go to the slide. Annual allocation for Northern Cape for this financial year is 269. However, when the Minister of Finance announced the front loading means for the 3 years allocation of the Northern Cape, we are going to bring them forward. However, when we bring them forward in our books, we don't bring them forward because it's called pledging. We are pledging. We are saying we have got this 3 years allocation. Then we go and get a loan. So National Treasury, together with the Provincial Treasury of the Northern Cape and the province, supported by the Department of Human Settlements, they went to the DBSA and said, DBSA, can you loan us 600 million? This 600 million, we will pay it off from our 3-year allocation of the HSDG. Now, it was approved by National Treasury to say DBSA would give the Northern Cape provincial government 600 million upfront, not what we are seeing as a voted fund upfront. They will give it to them. However, this is a new thing as a country. We had a lot of discussion together with National Treasury. I think we are doing it for the first time, especially when it comes to the conditional grants. Because the issue is, how do you account for it Because when you look at the allocations on the appropriation that has been passed by Parliament, the allocation for Northern Cape for the HSDG is 269. Even though we have announced the president had to go and launch this program. Now, on the submission of the Northern Cape are saying we have got 2,500 sites. We want to utilize the 600 million to build houses in these 2,500 sites. So we have a report, Chairperson, that tells us where are these sites, and then if they have appointed the service providers, has the service provider started working? So when we go on the ground in Northern Cape, we will be able to monitor the 2,500 and the 600 that is not written here. Because the actual fact of the money that is sitting in their provincial treasury is what has been pledged on. So because they have pledged the upfront, however, on the appropriation, we are given 269. When we transfer 269 to them, instead of using it, the 200 million by end of the financial year would have repaid the debt of the DBSA. However, DBSA has given Northern Cape 600 million. So the work that is happening on the ground in all the regions in the Northern Cape, they are building 2,500 units on the ground. So this is, as I said, this is a new thing, and this is a pilot. We have sent the team out because also as well, even as we needed to satisfy ourselves, if indeed the work is on the ground, because they did assure the president that they have already started, there is work on the ground. And Minister said, go send a team to the province across all the regions so that as human settlements as well, we are able to answer if there is indeed the service providers on the ground. The team went out, they came back with the report, they came back with the challenges, because remember, this is a new thing, Chairperson and members, there are challenges and there are things that we need to learn from it. So before we can go to other provinces, we will have lessons learned from the Northern Cape on this thing that is called front loading or pledging. But Treasury says we shouldn't call it front loading. But when we initially started, we were calling it front loading. Treasury says, no, it's not front loading, it's called pledging, because we have pledged the future allocations of the HSDG. Chairperson, I think I've over-explained it, but I think I've covered all your concerns. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, CFO and DG. I saw a hand of Honorable Khakilwe. Are you still on the platform? Or are you fine? Okay.
Chair?
Yes.
Chair?
Yes.
Thank you, and my apology. I've asked a question with regard to program 3, because it's the one where the department is not that much performing, as well as their achievements regarding the very same program. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ditev.
Chairperson, thank you very much, and thanks once again to the DG and the CFO. On this last issue that the CFO has talked to, that of front loading, that is, it seems to me that while there indeed was good intent on the part of National Treasury to bring forward capacity on the part of provinces to spend on scale, if you follow the tone of the Northern Cape, when we met with them in Ekurhuleni last week, Friday, Chair, it seems to me that either they themselves do not quite appreciate and understand the complexity of the impact of front-loading on their provincial fiscus and their expenditure patterns with regards to human settlements, or they simply think that it's something that can be done regardless of what the law provides for or what the limits that were introduced with this particular program provide for. If you remember, the DG had to be asked to come in and explain why the 200 million rand had to be minused. And I think the CFO has clearly articulated the 600 million rand, which was obtained from the DBSA. As we know, the DBSA obtains that capital upfront, or maybe obtains it, I shall say, from commercial banks. And then, of course, on the expectation that government will then deliver on its undertaking. Perhaps if both the DG and CFO could comment on that, Chair.
Thank you. DG, CFO.
Chairperson, I think there is great appreciation. There is great appreciation of what the pledging actually meant. And it was ventilated. And I can take the committee into confidence to indicate that there was also, even at a political level, an engagement between our minister and the MEC. And even at administrative level, we have discussed, and I'm sure CFO will also confirm that at her level, she did discuss with the provincial CFO this matter. And even at the time, they convened a workshop in Kimberley to look into the issue of the DBSA loan. We participated, and even there, we ventilated the issue. We showed the pretty downfall, because personally, my concern as an accounting officer, transferring officer, was if you have a staff complement, let's say chair of 300, and you're paying them salaries, and so that they can execute the programs year in, year out, and you pledge your future budget and you overwork them now in 1 year to deliver on work that supposedly must be done in 3 years with the capacity you have. And then in the last 2 years, you do not have the money to do any other projects. The question is, what do you do with that capacity that you had for 2 more financial years? Do they sit and they become idle and so on? And I had requested that that be answered as a condition of our support for the pledging exercise. And I think the matter has been quite beyond my pay grade, because it ended up with the Premier of the province and at the political level that it should proceed. It has been proceeded. The Treasury did support it, approve it at a national level, also in the province. And as it is said, it's water under the bridge. I think right now, it will be quite an unfair thing for a consideration to be made that those that did not pledge their future budgets must now share their budgets with the Northern Cape, primarily because now it finds itself in a fix of what to do in the 2 coming years, because it now can build the type or the number of houses it used to deliver year in, year out, because they now remain with quite a limited budget after the loan is being repaid. So it is for this reason that at the Ekurhuleni meeting, I outlined that it's our viewpoint that the cry they are pointing out is a misplaced cry. To then say, we asked for it, and then now we are seeing it's a calamity and we're crying about it. In my home language, Sepedi, they say, "Manalala nakamukura we settle." I think the chair can translate better. Marasipedia say easily, but that's essentially what is the case we are dealing with in this regard, Chairperson. Thank you very much.
CFO.
Chairperson, I think on the program 3, the target that was not achieved was on the disaster awareness. When we plan, and in program 3, that's where the informal settlements and the emergency housing reside. When we planned, we said that we are going to perform the disaster awareness, and out of that target, that's the one, because the disaster awareness was not conducted as it was initially planned. So that's why that's the one I think. But however, going forward, Chair, I think we have started, the team have started to arrange with the provinces so that they can continue to do the disaster awareness. The reason why we are doing the disaster awareness, Chair, we have been given money by National Treasury because we are responding to the emergencies. We need, because we are being seen as being responsive, we need to now come up with the mitigation plans, and the National Treasury has ring-fenced 10 million that we need to proceed and start educating the beneficiaries or the communities out there about the dangers of staying along the front lines or the fires and everything that we are dealing with. So that is why that we are unable to meet, but we have got the mitigation in place that for the next quarter, we will be doing all those awareness sessions across the country as planned, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we would like to thank you for the presentation, DG and your team, including CFO. I think I would recommend that the audit action plan, maybe as you report every quarter, you also apprise the committee so that the committee is not surprised at the end when certain things were not done, but they were promised to be done by the audit action plan. If you're comfortable with it, let's, as we present our quarterly report, let's also report progress on the audit action plan. Having said that, I think we're fine with the yes, we're fine with the quarterly report. We're fine with PPRA. We're moving to the next item. I think the next item is minutes. We can release the DG and your entourage. We can, but if you are not in a hurry, there's no problem, you can remain. So we're dealing with the next item, which is minutes. Am I correct, Celine?
Yes, Chair, but Koliswa, because of she's sick, she said she will speak to you so that we postpone the minutes and do the minutes next week. She will try to get the slot for doing the minutes.
Okay. Can we agree to that, honorable members? Like I reported, secretary is not well. Is it fine? Honorable Poole?
Yes, Chair.
Fine. Honorable Ditabe?
So good, Chair.
It's fine. Okay.
I second that, Chair. I think it's more of an exception. Our secretary is quite efficient. You will remember how she really got us out of a quagmire when the content advisor wasn't available. So yeah, with her, I think one can grant that. So we can do it next time. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Having said that, I think we are now at the end of our meeting. We we're still, but members can indicate on the 4th, like I indicated before, the 4th of December. We have submitted an application to visit Stellenbosch. We're not sure whether it will be approved or not. But at the same time, I want to appeal to members to indicate whether they will be available, because on that day there are a number of by-elections, and your political parties might send you to this or that other by-election. So if you can indicate with Mr. Naidu, Casey, as to whether you are available, so that we don't apply and it is approved and only 2 members are available. So please indicate to Casey whether you are available on that day. Some of the members have indicated that they will be going to the by-elections, and we are not in control of that. If your party says go to this by-election, you may not be able to refuse, because on that day, seemingly the parliament does not have anything. That's why we wanted to take advantage of that. So that if the more members are not available, we're able to advise the House Chair with our application. We'll postpone it to next time. Check with your parties if you're not sure, and indicate to Mr. Naidu of your availability or not. Thanks very much, honorable members. We want to thank the DG and his team. We want to thank the CEO of PPRA and her team. I know it's going to be a long day even today. Let's prepare ourselves and go to Parliament and do the parliamentary work. Having said that, thanks very much once more. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Casey, are you still here? Casey.
Still here.
Okay, Casey, I wanted to tell you that I'm not available on the 4th.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Members?